Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to a Svelte Appstravaganza. So we're going to build at least 3 different apps with Svelte today. And it's going to be a fun time. And also, we're going to start the stream with a song because it's been a while since we've done that too. Hello. Hello. Well, hello, friends, and welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Oh, hello, friends, and welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. We're gonna grow our coding skills one day at a time. We're not afraid to make mistakes or fall out of line. We're gonna break things down, build them back up. We're gonna learn lots of things. It's gonna be really fun. Oh, hello, friends, and welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Oh, hello, friends, and welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome in, everyone. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to do some Svelte. And yeah, Z. says break things. Yeah, we're gonna definitely at least do one thing wrong today. But welcome in. Also, the timing, oh, you're welcome, Heck, for that song. The timing for the stream isn't the best because it's lunchtime. And so I need to eat this pizza. Sub gift for every, I'm not late. There's no specific time I was gonna go live. I need to eat this pizza, so we need to figure out something to do while I eat that pizza. But we've gotten some supports. Sound of Gaming, thank you for the 11 months. Code Then Cake, thank you for the 9 months. Heck with the gift to Avi. Very good. Dynamic Voyage with the 12 months. Take Ova with the Prime, and Barbados Frame with the Prime as well. That's just a regular ukulele. I mean, I don't know, is tenor a regular ukulele? Yeah, the drop game's broken, and I don't feel like debugging it, so no drop game today. Yeah, and let's take a quick stretch. As you can see, my camera setup's a little bit different today. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know if anything weird starts happening with my blue screen or anything like that. But look at all this space! Look, I can point! Oh, thank you, Heck. And Goldie, thank you for that Prime sub as well. Oh, and Ziggy with the 12 months. Much appreciated. Yeah, and I got my standing desk. I'm all set up. And Leak Geek, thank you for the 10 months. Wow. Okay, but yeah, for those of you that don't know about Svelte, it's a way to build front-end apps. And one of the cool things about it is there is no virtual DOM. So, yeah, if you check out the working on. Yeah, so we're going to use Sveltkit when we get into more complex apps, like with routing and stuff like that. But for the first few apps, we're just going to use Svelte by itself. But yeah, if you click this link, this is where all the code I'm going to write today is going to go. And so the plan is we're going to start pretty simple. We're going to build a player score counter, like a count up, count down, but for 2 players. We're going to build a to-do app. Then we'll build a Reddit client, and this is pretty much where we'll start using Sveltkit because we'll need like a router and stuff like that. And then we'll build a movie search app. So we'll integrate with the Open Movie database for that. So that's the plan. That's what we're going to do. What? Yeah. So, and I've built some Svelte stuff in the past, but this will be the first time that I build a lot of Svelte stuff all at once. So that'll be fun. And CGN Seahawk, thank you very much for the Prime sub. Yeah. Oh, you thought it was a tenor because it's bigger and louder. I'm just small. This is a. I'm a small person. I'm pretty sure this is like your standard ukulele. How long is it gonna take? Depends. Probably the score counter, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The to-do app, maybe 30 minutes, and then we'll just go from there. But I'm really bad at estimating, so we'll see. All right, but what can I show you all while I eat my pizza? I need like a 10-minute video. Yeah. What I mean, we could watch one of the Svelte videos on YouTube. Rain sounds, just music. All right, yeah, no, I'm down for that. Let's just chat. While I eat my pizza, I'll throw on some music. Let me know if the music's too loud. And yeah, we'll talk. We're here. We'll talk. So this is a pepperoni pizza. It's got some chili flakes on it and basil. And then I've got some spicy ranch to dip it into. It's not Colorado style. No, I don't know what style you would call it. I guess like New York style. I don't know. It's kind of thin. Yeah, I'm turning the music down a little bit. How's that? Also, how was your week, everybody? It's Friday. I'm glad you all could tune in. Hopefully everything's going well on your side of the world, wherever you are in the world. Yeah. It's almost the weekend. It's folded. That's a fold. It's like a personal pizza. Oh, and best of luck to you, Caleb. Caleb says they have their final interview. And Johnny Drama is in a final interview, too. Yeah, best of luck. Can we get some hearts in chat for everybody interviewing today? Yeah. And Leak Geek asked if I'm playing chess. I'm not. I haven't been playing. I guess I was just was part of the hype. Everybody was playing chess, so I was playing chess too. Yeah. If you do exclamation, I got a chili in my throat. If you do exclamation mark music, you can get a link to the music. If I've been playing Wordle, I don't know. Oh, is that the like you can play on stream with people? Is that what that is? Yeah. I've wanted to make a pizza building app for a while. You know, like basically how you can go on a pizza website, order a pizza, but like you decide what crust do you want, what sauce do you want, what toppings do you want on the left versus the right. I wanted to build one that lets you do that, but then it generates a JSON payload that can be used to send to the Domino's Pizza API to order a pizza. Eventually. Eating and talking. No, it's spicy. There's like a chili that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Is it Evelyn or Evan Foster? They want to build an Android app that takes a photo through an intent. I haven't really built many native apps, but you can ask in our Discord, !Discord. Yeah, doing some Svelte today. What's the best way to save messages per user in MongoDB, says Potato is Gritson. Should I save the messages in the same collection as the users, or should I make a different one? I think you should probably make a different one. It depends on your use case, but like let's say you want to show messages from 5 different users. You could do a single query to the messages collection versus 5 separate queries to the users. And you can paginate it. It would be really hard to paginate it if it's just nested data on the user itself. I say a separate collection. Yeah. There's an extension for VS Code to order pizza. I did not know that. No. And Decalers received an offer for an internship at Chewy. They do like dog toy delivery stuff, right? Yeah, congrats on that. Yazuf is saying, do you think Solid has a bright future? What is Solid, Jess? Looks like React. Follows the same philosophy as React with unidirectional data flow, read-write segmentation. It, however, has a completely different implementation that forgoes using a virtual DOM. Apparently, it's faster than Svelte. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how long it's been around. This is the first time I'm hearing of it. I mean, it has 13,000 GitHub stars. I don't know. How is this better than React? Actually, here's my initial thoughts and opinions. They're doing things without a virtual DOM. Great. But it looks like React and uses React hooks, which are not that great if you've used something like Svelte. So we're about to write some Svelte, and the code we're going to write is going to be a lot easier to wrap your mind around than like hook-based code. So I say no. This actually, it might have a future just because you have all these people writing React, and it would be easier for them to switch to this than to Svelte. But I don't like the fact that it looks like React. That's my initial opinion. Oh yeah, I need to plug in my laptop too. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna eat one more slice of pizza and then we'll get to coding. Yeah, and Farshid is asking if there's gonna be SvelteKit. I'll do SvelteKit in the later apps. And I've never used SvelteKit before. I've only used just Svelte by itself. But because we need a router, I'm gonna try out SvelteKit. Is it a good option for front-end devs who don't know any backend or database to build production apps? I mean, I think as long as they have some sort of code review or oversight from somebody that knows what they're doing, I don't see any problem with that. But if they don't have any oversight, that could be an issue because they might do things that are not great, not secure. So yeah, I mean, and that just goes with anyone that's new to backend coding. Plug in the laptop. There should be a way. Yeah, I mean, there might be. We could do like a chat command, and then it just speaks to me and says, "Plug in the laptop." What's up, Jason? My garden. Welcome. Avi is asking, how do I typically organize my code? I take a lot of influence from the original John Papa style guide. Speaking of Papa John's, I mean, my pizza isn't Papa John's, but if you look at the Angular style guide for Angular 1, the old one, this has a lot of really good concepts that don't just apply to Angular. They can apply to even like backend code in terms of like code organization and stuff like that. So I take a lot of influence from that. Can we make a PWA with Svelte? Yeah, you can. I don't think I will today, but you can. And what's up, Coding Effect and Patootie? Hello. You doing good? What's up, Kalos? The Elder says, I'm going to relocate from New York City to my company next week. Nice. Nice. Congrats on that. Do I know how to integrate with ESLint, TypeScript, and Svelte? I don't. We can try to set up ESLint. Though I just want to... I want to get to coding today. I don't want to spend too much time on like setup and configuration. So, all right, one more piece of pizza and then we'll start coding. What do I think about Prisma? Seems cool. Isn't that like GraphQL, TypeScript? Yeah. I've seen it before. I've never used it. It seems cool because I'm pretty sure you can like create your schemas or your types, and then that like generates a TypeScript type and generates a GraphQL schema or something like that. It seems cool. Yeah. I'm still on that spicy ranch. Spicy ranch is good. Especially this is good spicy ranch. And Avi is asking about resources to learn Rollup. I don't know of any. I guess from the docs. Yeah. And Coding Effects says, I want to be a programmer like you. Please give me some tips. Work hard. Be dedicated. Be kind. Be humble. That's about it, I guess. And thanks for being here, the Elders. Glad to have you. And Ari, hello. Good resources to learn TypeScript. The docs are pretty good. And Mid, hello. Hello, hello. Is Angular fine to learn, or should we focus on Svelte or Next.js? Anything is fine to learn. I mean, yeah, yes, learn it. I think there are a lot of factors that should go into if you should learn something. But like if there are jobs in your area where they're using that, or if you've looked at it and you like it, use it. Use it. Oh yeah, that's another good point in terms of how to get good is to do it a lot. Do it a lot. Yeah, and what's up next? We're doing Svelte. Do I recommend any code structure on TypeScript on the front end? .NET Core MVC. Take a look at that Angular style guide. The main thing is the application, it's like the lift principle. You should be able to locate code easily. And then there's 3 more letters in that I don't know what they stand for, but that's basically it. Organize your code good. I think you can follow that. I haven't taken the State of JS survey. What's up, Josh? Thanks for being here. I feel like last stream we had almost no mods. Chat did fine, but thanks for being here, Josh. Thoughts on nx.dev? Never heard of it. Seems cool. If it can do that, did you see that demo? You can like generate any app you want. So React, Angular, Next, Web Components, Express. You can choose your styling format. They have their own cloud functions, or cloud setup. Seems cool. That's my thoughts. It seems cool. I don't know if I have a use case for it right now. And hello, Free Kodak. What is the best skill and language to learn? It depends on what you want to do. I can't tell you what's the best. I can tell you what might be the easiest and where you might find the most resources and like help online, which is web development. So if you start with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, there's just so much free content online to be able to learn all that stuff. And then like once you've learned JavaScript, you can do a lot of you can basically do anything with JavaScript. I don't know if you can hear that squeaking sound, but my standing desk is squeaking. I have some WD-40, but oh, it's blue. But I couldn't find the squeak. I don't know. So yeah, it's not the best, but it's probably the most widely used and you'll find the most resources on it, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then once you learn JavaScript, you can build front-end apps, you can build back-end apps, you can learn, you can build mobile apps, and you can also learn what all of those terms mean, front-end, back-end, mobile. Yeah, that's my advice. Do I have any way to balance between work and side projects? No. When I'm done with work, I work on side projects. That's about it. I mean, the thing is, if you have a lot of work to do, then you might not have the time to do a side project. So, Hasura seems cool too. The Hasura turns a Postgres database into a GraphQL API. Oh yeah, I heard about that too. Svelte is getting a native compiler. Yeah. Device driver programming. If I did, it was a really long time ago. I feel like I sort of kind of did something like that. Not exactly, but yeah. Well, thankfully you have one of the best communities. I agree, Josh. At least we attract a lot of nice people too. But don't jinx it, because there could be some troublemakers. Assispark says, a couple years ago I tried Angular, React, and Vue, making a super simple app. Decided Vue was my jam, now I'm getting into Svelte. Thoughts on Turbo Repo? Haven't heard of it. I'm gonna stop looking these things up because I haven't heard of a lot of them. Will I generate music using JavaScript? I want to. Is the music still loud? Turn it down a little more. Yeah, you're welcome, Free Codec. And so check out Free Code Camp. That's a good place. And the Odin project. If you search the web for either of those things, you'll get a good jumping off point. Yeah, that's the other thing I like about learning web development first is you don't have to set up a runtime or a compiler. You don't have to know how to use the command line. You can do a lot with even just tools based in the web browser. Yeah. How can I set my coding language on the overlay? Oh yeah, I'll show you that. Remind me, I'll show you that right after I finish my pizza. Can I talk a bit about my background and how I got started? I'd say check out the frequently asked questions, only because I need to take a bite of this pizza, and I can't talk for that long. But if you look at frequently asked questions, there's a section on here. History of Coding Garden. Yeah, how long have you been doing this? How did you start live streaming? Check that out, because it's a lot of words, and I want to take a bite of this pizza. But thanks for being here, Bow Silence. And Ruth, hello from France. Welcome in Shadows. Yeah, if you want to create apps, I recommend you take Python. The thing is, you can do anything you can do with Python, you can pretty much do with JavaScript. I don't know. When is the 2022 Stack Overflow survey? No idea. And Mizralev, thanks for the bits. Hello. All right, pizza bye. I33MRO asks, tips to get an internship. How do I know if I deserve pay as an intern? First of all, if you are interning and doing any kind of software work, you deserve to be paid. The software industry, I mean, as long as I've been in the industry, which is like over 10 years at this point, has never, from what I've seen, unless it's like a really shady company or something like that, has never had interns work for nothing. Because the work you can do even as an intern, even as like a beginner, is valuable. You write code. As a coding intern, you're not getting people coffee and running errands. You're actually writing code. You just have some oversight from a more senior developer. So to answer that, you always deserve pay as a coding intern. And tips to get an internship is search for them. Go to if you're in school right now, go to your career fair. You can search. Really, you want to search for summer internships. That's when they usually happen, and you want to apply like now to get a summer internship. So you would be looking like end of the year, beginning of the year for internships that are going to start in the summer. Because the internships at companies are usually based around like school breaks, as in like university breaks, even if you're not in university. Yeah. You can see Graphic Art on YouTube. There's a lot of real videos on JavaScript. Yeah, check that out. I haven't heard of it, but yeah. GCC never finished, and I haven't tried since. Yeah, we were trying to get GCC installed so we could use, I think it was Rust. Yeah. If you do ! working on, you can get a link to what we're working on today, which then links you to the list of the apps we're going to build today. Pizza's important. Well, I just need to finish the pizza so we can get going. We got to get the show on the road. Nothing's happened yet. I've been live. Been live for 36 minutes. Yeah. And hello, Yana. Thanks for being here. What's up, Delano? And Olives, and Erie. Hello. ! Break. I do it all, front end and back end. Yeah. Getting people coffee and running errands also deserves to be paid. I agree, but I just know from life experience, because for those of you that have been watching the Coding Garden for a long time, you might remember Tony from Noob Quest. He got a degree in graphic design and tried to get a job in graphic design in New York City, but just worked internships for free for like over a year and still was never able to get a job. But he couldn't find any work anywhere except for being an actual graphic design intern. And he had to work for free, which was ridiculous. So that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying that's how a lot of companies work. And you Spio, hello. And Dad of Dom, thanks for being here. I've been using React for like 5 years now. I started checking out Svelte last week, but haven't made it far since we had our child. Second child! You're having all kinds of kids, but congrats. But yeah, so Dad of Dom named their first kid. Well, the kid's name starts with a D, right? And then their initials are DOM, like the document object model. Their name isn't document object model. But now, yeah, what did you name your second kid, if you don't mind sharing? Yeah. We had an intern recently on our team. The guy was an amazing asset to the team, definitely following up to see if he wants a full-time position. Yeah, and that's usually how it works. Like, I mean, that's how I got my first job out of university was I got an internship, and then they liked what I did, and then they hired me full-time after I graduated. I haven't tried Go. What's up, D-Carts? Tari, yeah, so Tari is that desktop app thing that is based on Rust. I think it's based on Rust. But yeah, GCC never finished. This is not homemade pizza. No, this is from a place called Pizzeria Locale. One more bite. Hello, Mikus and Salmon. Haven't looked into Web3. Let me think for a second. Okay. I'm gonna have to skip most of the chat messages. I'm gonna read like a few. I'm gonna read a few of the chat messages. And then we're going to get started coding. But yeah, I don't have any recommendations off the top of my head for a Netflix movie. I feel like I've watched one recently. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, no pro tips, Ryan, but thanks for being here. Looking for one in the spring. No, just give it your best. I mean, a lot of times, like was mentioned, internships turn into full-time opportunities. So if you're a go-getter and you're doing your best and providing value, they're going to see that and potentially hire you. So, yeah. Yeah. You've been a business owner for 4 years and now you're going to try to find a job. It's going to be different, right? Because you're going to be working for somebody else instead of yourself. But yeah, best of luck on that. Back in the 90s, there were tons of interns that didn't pay. They're losing money training you. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, a lot of companies know that when they hire an entry-level software developer, they're going to have to be trained. They're going to have to be brought up to speed, at least for the first few months. Yeah. And Arpajan, Boga, hey, welcome in. Yeah. I mean, my first internship, I was making $35 an hour. And this was years ago. Long time ago. Yeah. The elders, you have a React badge, yeah. And Radio says, very happy I found a stream, or am I still working on with you? In like personal projects and stuff like that, I do React at work. And today, we're going to write some Svelte. And what's up, Ryan Hawkins? Hello, Finite Singularity. Welcome in. Yeah, I was checking out Finite Singularity on Twitch last night. Check him out. Are you done with your ski trip? I didn't get to tune in. I'm actually curious. Do you mind if I play the VOD to see your ski trip? So Finite Singularity built some overlays that show device metrics. So they had their cell phone, which would detect their altitude and how fast they were going. And then today they went skiing and took it with them. Can I play this? Feel free to play VOD. Okay, yeah, let's see. There won't be any sound because I don't have that set up right now. Cool. Okay, yeah, so these are the overlays. Currently, they're at 890 feet and climbing because they're on a lift. That's so cool. Actually, I want to see it a little bit before. Yeah, so the max they'd been at that point was 740 feet. Oh, we're going down the hill at that point. 800 feet. Here we go. If you're new to skiing and snowboarding, that's always the scariest part, is getting off the lift. Nice. That's so cool. Yeah, but definitely check out our friend Finite Singularity. He has all kinds of cool overlays and stuff like that. I think I sort of missed it yesterday, but you did mention you were streaming it over RTMP. So did you have like how'd you do it? So you had your stream running at home, and then you sent a remote stream to the stream running at home? And then what kind of device did you use? Like, was it a phone camera, or did you have like one of those like IRL streaming boxes or something like that? I'm curious because I'm gonna do some IRL streaming soon. I plan on building my own thing, but I have stuff coming in the mail. I'll let you all know that stuff once it comes. So GoPro, iPhone hotspot, RTMP server on my streaming PC. So can a GoPro output to RTMP? Is that just built in? Or was the GoPro like HDMI out to the iPhone? Because my plan right now is to have I mean, I'm basically gonna have like an entire. Oh, the newer ones do? That's good to know. Because the way I'm gonna set it up is the camera will be plugged into like a literal Windows 10 computer, and that Windows 10 computer is gonna be running scripts that serve each of the cameras out as an SRV stream, or I could do an RTMP stream. to this setup that's going to be here. I don't know. We're going to figure it out though. But welcome in. We're going to get started coding now. Oh yeah, and then Dad of Dom. So their second daughter. So your daughter that was born 2 years ago is named Dylan Olivia Myers, which is Dom. And your new kid number 2 is Teddy Gardner. TG. That's a cool initial. All right. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to skip all of those chat messages. But I thank you all for being here. We're going to write some code now. And Finite Singularity says you have to use the app on your phone to initialize the RTMP connection. I guess that would make sense, because if the GoPro is mirroring to the phone, then the phone can do anything it wants. That's cool. What's up, DS Legends? Okay, so we got some supports. A lot. I don't even remember the last one. Miser Alive with the 200 bits. Code Monkey Dave with the 3 months. Ronev with the 4 months, who says, I don't know any coding, but still find your stream really interesting. Well, today's your day, Ronev, if you're still watching. I feel like it's going to be fairly beginner friendly, at least the initial apps that we build. And then Josh with the 6 months, who says, apparently I let this lapse, didn't realize until an advert destroyed my ears. Sorry about that, Josh. Yeah, there's a lot of ads playing, but I do it to prevent pre-rolls. I'm not going to do hellos today because there's just a lot of people, but welcome in, Codeboat. Hello to you. And welcome, Little Blue from Morocco. Very cool. And Garajo asked a perfect question. What is Svelte? That's the first thing we're going to answer. And what's up, Dillip? Okay, here we go. And I'm going to probably clip this for a YouTube video. So give me a second. We're going to do a YouTube style intro. Can you all hear that squeaking noise? Because I might try to find the squeak and then WD-40 it. Can you hear it or not? No? Okay, great. Great. Awesome. Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. In today's show, we are going to be doing a Svelte Appstravaganza. So we're essentially going to build several different apps with Svelte. We're going to start fairly simple. So we're going to build a player score counter. It'll just have a up score, down score button for 2 different players. And then we're going to build a to-do app. This will pretty much demonstrate all of the major concepts in Svelte and how you implement them. And then after that, we're going to build a Reddit client. So we're going to talk to the Reddit API and get some Reddit posts linked, and we'll have multiple pages. So for the Reddit client, we'll actually use this thing called SvelteKit, which I'll talk about more when we get there. But SvelteKit is more of a full-featured framework that uses Svelte. And then after that, we'll build movie search. I'll say movie search is tentative because this could take us a really long time. But if all goes well, then we're going to get to all 4 of these apps today. But yeah, question is, first question, what is Svelte? So Svelte is a front-end framework. It allows you to build front-end websites. And Svelte, the library itself, after bundling and compiling your code, is just JavaScript and just runs inside of the web browser. So you can compare Svelte to things like Vue.js or React or Angular. It's comparable to all of these in that you can build front-end websites with it. But where it may one of the major differences is that it has no virtual DOM. Let's take a quick stretch. Stream done. So if you know anything about Vue or React, they use this thing called the virtual DOM, which basically is a mechanism for deciding what to update on the page when things change in your app. But Svelte does not use a virtual DOM. Whenever you compile your Svelte code, it gets turned into just vanilla JavaScript. There is no runtime and there is no virtual DOM. It gets turned into document.querySelector or element.textContent type code. It gets turned into just DOM code. And there's really no runtime either. So your builds are really small and the apps are really fast because it's the smallest amount of code needed to get the job done. So that's what Svelte is. We're going to jump right in. Let's get it. Does Angular use a virtual DOM? I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Our friend Finite Singularity uses Angular. If you're still here, do you know does it use virtual DOM? I know Angular 1 didn't, but I haven't really used Angular a lot. Yeah, so I'm going to use Pico Css. That's another thing for just to give us some basic styling. I'm going to try this out. So I've never tried this out before, but essentially it gives you styles. Why isn't that loading? It gives you default styles without any classes. Yeah, thank you for the link, Josh. So like this, so you write this code, and that's you get this by default. No need to add classes or anything like that. So this is going to be really good for like rapid prototyping. So that's what we're going to use today. Yeah, and Svelte was very much inspired by Vue.js. If you look at the Svelte 1.0 code, it looks almost exactly like Vue. We're going to be using Svelte 2 Plus, and it has a newer syntax. You'll see. Does your entire page re-render every time the app changes the DOM? No. So that's one of the things about having a virtual DOM, or in this case, just smart specific updates without a virtual DOM, is the code figures out which pieces of the page need to update based on what state changed. So the whole thing doesn't need to re-render or reload. Yeah, what does this mean to devs and end users? Faster apps, potentially. I mean, for the apps that we're building, they're fairly simple, so you probably wouldn't notice the speed or like loading difference. Yeah, I would just say in general for larger applications, it's going to be a smaller bundle size, meaning the code you have to ship to the end user is a lot less. So it's a potentially faster load time, but at the end of the day, it's probably minuscule when you compare it to even like a built React app or something like that. It really, it's all about developer features, which I'll show you. If it doesn't use a virtual DOM, how does it work? Just like vanilla JavaScript. So you select an element and then you modify its properties like text content or inner HTML or different things like that. It just generates that kind of code. Versal threw down funding for Svelte. What was it, a month ago? Yeah, and so the creator of Svelte, Rich Harris, I believe is now working at Versal. He was working at the New York Times for a while, but I believe he's at Versal now. Yeah. Svelte 3. Okay, 3. I got that wrong. Is Svelte good for SEO? It generates JavaScript code, at least these basic apps we're going to write here. It's still generating JavaScript code. And search engines do run JavaScript, but they may not run all of your JavaScript. I don't know how. I don't really pay attention to SEO because I'm usually not building apps that even need to worry about SEO. But just know that the apps you build are still technically going to have JavaScript in them. Now, when we use SvelteKit, it can do like pre-rendered, pre-hydrated pages, and so this SvelteKit would probably be a lot better for SEO. But we're not going to worry about any of that today. Really, today we're just focusing on the concepts of the framework itself to get the apps going. Yeah. Is there another advantage other than performance? Developer ergonomics, I guess. You'll see. The code is just so simple when you compare it to like a React app. Yeah. For tech that like Electron that uses front-end builds for desktop apps, is this faster than Angular or React? We're going to just stop talking about is it faster because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it might matter, but it's minuscule. And we're not really talking about speed changes here. We're talking more so about what it takes to build the app. And then at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, you're going to have like maybe a few kilobytes smaller payload size. Maybe the app's going to load 200 milliseconds faster, but that's not what I'm worried about. I'm more worried about like what code do I have to write to get the thing done. And I think the other thing to think about though is like, so in frameworks like React or Angular, it may be harder to optimize the code that you write. If you don't know enough about the framework and if you write code in a way that does require a lot of re-renders or a lot of compute cycles to get things going on the page, then yeah, your app's going to be slower. But if you know how to write React really well and you know how to write Angular really well, you're not going to run into that problem. However, a case can be made that Svelte is just fast by default without really even needing to optimize anything. So from a developer standpoint and from a beginner developer standpoint, you don't have to worry about that stuff because it just works. It takes care of all of it for you. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not even going to explain the virtual DOM because we don't have to worry about it. We don't even have a virtual DOM here. But all right, let's write some code. First up, we need to generate an app. So we can run this command in our terminal. And the first app we're going to generate is the player score counter. So I can name it here. dgit is a tool for just cloning a repo locally and putting it into a specific folder. So we'll just do this. Because this app is going to be based on this template, and this template, it's fairly simple. So as you'll see here is like, we don't really have a CLI tool like we do in the Vue world or in the Angular world. This just gives us a basic template project, and then we go from there. But at this point, we now have this player score counter folder, and we can open it up. And you'll see that there is a Rollup config. Now, for the apps we're building, we won't have to modify this, but this is similar to like Webpack. It's a way of bundling up our app, but they use Rollup instead of Webpack. But if we take a look in here, we've got a source directory with a main entry point. It looks like my linter is trying to run. It's one that I have installed globally. I'm kind of okay with that. Like if I fix it, yeah, that's fine with me. We'll just use my globally installed one. But so this is how it works. We pull in our app component. We create an instance of that app component and tell it where to render. In this case, it's just going to render on the body. And then if this component has any props, we can pass them in. For our use case, we're not going to have any props, but we'll see. And then this is our app component. So here you will see the beauty of Svelte. It's similar to Vue.js in that you have multiple elements. So you have like your script element, your HTML element, and then your style element all within the component. But what's nice is this script element just defines variables. So right here, this is actually pulling in a variable as from a prop right here. Like, so this name is going to be world. But you can also just define variables, and then those variables are instantly reactive, meaning you can use them in your UI. And then if you were to modify them in like an event listener or a function, the UI is going to automatically update, and you don't have to do anything special for that. But we'll get into that. For now, we should just do an npm install. And so that's going to download all our dependencies. Let's look at our package.json to look at our dependencies. So yeah, we've got all the rollup stuff and then Svelte version 3. Cool. And then we should be able to start it up. So it's running on port 8080. Here it is. Here is our Svelte app. If we look at the source code for it, we have a bundle.js. And this is all of the code needed. So this has our app component in it. And then all this other stuff at the top is just code required to get it actually working. But at the end of the day, that's all the JavaScript that we're shipping to the page. Cool. Yeah, done. We have a hello world. But let's get going with our first app. So we're actually going to build a player score counter. So we've generated the app. Let's add Pico Css really quick. I think they just have a CDN that we can pull it in from. Download Pico. Unpackage. Yeah, this is what we want. So this is just going to give us some basic styles. Pico is really nice in that I add it to the page and then everything will just look that way by default. I don't have to add any CSS classes. And I think they have a dark mode. But regardless, let's add this. So if we look in the folder, there is a public folder and then there's an index.html. So this is the file that all of our code gets injected into. And this is where all the elements and stuff will be living. So for now, I'm just going to add that as a link there. Let's see what happens. Pico is pure magic. I mean, it's basically just predefined styles, and they don't require you to add the CSS classes. But by default, it looks a little bit like Bootstrap, you know? What is happening? I broke it. The other thing is I want to change the port that it's running on because I'm pretty sure I have something else on my computer running on port 8080. Let's see how we can do that. So this is using serve. What is serve? Can I specify a port? Important? -- port. What the heck? What is happening? Oh, is unpackaged down? CDN isn't working. Let's see. Okay, unpackage works. What is the npm name? I mean, honestly, I'll just use JS deliver instead of unpackage. Pico classlist.min.css. This is what we want, I believe. Okay, so it did work. You can see we have a dark background now. I'm just going to replace this, though, with this one. All right. Okay. Good to go. The squeak is audible when you crank your volume to full. I just don't know where it is. And then it just stops all of a sudden. Yeah, we could have downloaded it locally too, but I am not. Where did this come from? Okay, at this point, let's actually build. Can you use both Bootstrap and Pico? I wouldn't. You would pick one or the other. The main reason being, like, Pico works without classes at all, so it's going to apply a bunch of default styles, and then I guess technically Bootstrap only applies a few default styles, and you could use some of its classes. Though, if you look at Pico Css, they have a build that includes the Bootstrap grid. Let's actually see if that build was available for us. I think you can build it yourself. And basically, it has all of the Pico CSS classes, and then only the Bootstrap grid, so you can get a grid in your app. But we don't need a grid. Okay, let's go. So we've added Pico. Wonderful. So let's actually get a button on the page. And so let's just open up our app component here. And first thing is, this app component doesn't need any props, so I'm just going to remove that piece there. So our app component is very simple. It's just rendering on the body. And then we don't need this anymore. But we do need to set up some variables for our player. So I'll need something like the player1 score. That starts off as 0. And then we need a way to modify that. So we're going to add a button that just says up. And then when this thing is clicked, we increase the score. So I've used Svelte before, but I forgot what the syntax is. So check this out. So one of the great things about Svelte is their docs. They have this interactive little editor here that shows you the output on the right-hand side, but they basically have an example for like every single common thing you would do in front-end development. And so one of the things I'm trying to do right now are DOM events. How can I, for example, listen for a click event? And that works like this. So you do on : and then the name of the event. So on click, and then I can specify a function. So we'll say increase player 1 score. And then over here, I can have a function, increase player 1 score. And then we just increase it. So we'll say plus equals 1. That's it. That's our up button. And then if we want to show the score, I believe we can do it like this. Let's see what we get. All right, so 0. Look at that. We're done. We're not done. There's some other stuff we're going to do. But this is the code, and this is why I like Svelte. So let's note some things, right? We are just directly modifying this variable. We didn't have to do a set state. We didn't have to do anything like that. Yeah, we absolutely could inline this as well. So I could do just a little inline arrow function that just says player 1 score plus equals 1. This absolutely will work, and then I don't need that separate function. So it's 0. Beautiful. So yeah, I mean, this just needs a reference to a function. However you want to define that, you can. I do like to have it as a function within my script tag here, though. Yeah, and then the other thing to note is this right here. So if I want to actually reference a variable from my script in my HTML, I just use single curly braces like this. And then let's also create a down button. So we'll have another function that is decrease player 1 score. And we'll have another function, but instead it does a subtraction. And so now we should have an up and a down. So go up, go down. There, but we potentially want to block against negatives. So we'll just say if player 1 score is less than 0, then player 1 score is 0. So that way this will never, no matter how many times I click this will never go below 0. Great. How to import other custom components. I'll show that now. So basically what we want to do is we want to have two different scores on the screen. We want a player 1 score. So this will say like player 1. And then below that, we want player 2 score as well. Now, of course, I could just like copy this, paste this, create some more variables. Like I could do this, but I mean, right now they're tied to the same variable. I'd have to create new variables, but this is the use case for a component, right? So we basically want to componentize this whole thing here. And then we'll just have two instances of that component, one for player 1, one for player 2. So let's make our own little component here. We'll call this player score.svelte. So we just have our template like that. We'll put it in a div. And then we just need to pull this entire script section, actually. And that goes here. I'm going to rename all of these to just player score, though. How do you rename a variable? Refactor? F2? F2 isn't working for some reason. Oh well. Cool. In this case, we do want a prop though, because I want to be able to pass in like the player label, like this. So, or like player name. So that way we can have a player 1 and a player 2. Control L? Command L? No. I don't know why it's not working. That's okay though. So if we remind ourselves, that's just defining a prop. I need a way of defining that I need a prop here. I believe it's just export let player name like this. And so this is a way of pulling in a prop. Yeah, Josh has confirmed. So I define it like this with this export keyword. And what that means is on the other side, when I'm using that component, I can actually pass the prop down. So at this point, let's just use it. So at this point, our app component gets really simple. We need an instance of the player score, where the player name is player 1, like this. First of all, how do we get player score? We just import it. Like that. And we've done something wrong. Player 1 score is not defined. Could not resolve player score from app svelte. Do I have to do .svelte? Okay, we got there. Great. Now let's just review what I did there. So we basically took all of that code that was in app.svelte, we moved it into its own file called playerscore.svelte. And so this defines all of this. I did see in the chat earlier, someone asked, do we need a top level element? I actually don't think we do. We could actually define this without a div and it would be just fine. Yeah, works just fine. Which is interesting because if we inspect it, we should see that all of those elements are just getting rendered directly inside of main instead of having a parent element, which is pretty nice. Like in React, you would have to use a fragment. Yeah, but I still want it to be in a div because I'll show you. We could like put them side by side in a grid or something like that. So I want it to be in a div. The other thing is we defined that we have a prop. So a prop is a way of passing data down. So what we've said on this line of code is I want the outside world to be able to pass in a player name, and then we're going to put that player name right here. And so now, over back in my app, I import that component in, and then I can reference it. But now that I've componentized it, we can add another instance and just say player 2. And so now we have 2 independent instances of that component. This one has a score, this one has a score, and then they don't interfere with each other. So that's great. Is this JSX or HTML here? It's Svelte's own custom thing. So there is actually a Svelte compiler that turns this into DOM code, vanilla JavaScript code. So this isn't anything specific. This is Svelte. But yeah, I like the syntax. I really do. So, I mean, this is easy. This is easy. Defining our props are easy. Defining variables is easy. It's just easy. it's like an easier version of Vue. I'm also going to get rid of all these styles. I don't think we even need it. Yeah, I mean, that kind of did like some text centering, but now I could define those text centering styles in the player component itself. We'll get there. Can I do colon click instead of on click? Let's try it. So that would be like a Vue-like thing. Doesn't seem to work. So it does want the on. But because they have their own compiler, that's something they probably easily could add. Maybe, I don't know. I say that, but you'd have to parse this. I don't know how easy it would be to parse that. Okay, so we have some styles here. I'm just going to create a center class that does text-align center. And then we can use this center class on both of these. That's the other cool thing is, I mean, if you're comparing it to React, we don't have to use anything like class name or anything like that. It just works, which is nice. Cool. Hello, Electrothermal. Happy Friday to you as well. Are there any downsides to Svelte? The cases where React or Vue are better. I think the main downsides are that it's much newer than React and Vue. That said, it's still been around for a few years, but the community hasn't been around long enough to grow as much as like the Vue community or the React community has grown in terms of like community packages, community support, that kind of thing. So I think that's the main place you'll suffer, and not in terms of like app development itself. That's really just in like support of the apps that you're building. Yeah, and in terms of where Svelte is better, I would assume that if you are doing direct DOM manipulation, so like if you're calculating the size of elements or you need to really actually write DOM code, Svelte would probably be better because it already generates DOM code. Whereas with Vue or React, you have to use refs to the elements because of the virtual DOM, that element on the page could actually change. And so you need to make sure that you're using the latest ref. But with Svelte, it's just the DOM anyways. Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's another good point, Andreas, who is asking, hello, Andreas, who's asking, is that scope styled to the component? It is. Yeah. Let's see what gets generated. So if we look at like this H2, you'll see it has this center class, but then it has this generated class name, and that makes it so that these classes don't leak out of the component. So for instance, if we go to so this is a center class with text-align center, and if we go up to the app and we add an H1 here that just says player score counter. And if we were to put class center on this, it won't apply to it. You see, this is not centered because Svelte generated that extra little class name there to make sure that it's scoped only to the component and doesn't leak out of the component. So yeah, by default, CSS classes are scoped to the component that they were defined in. Cool. I don't plan to try Solidity. No. I like the simplicity of it too. Reset button? Yeah, let's do it. The main issue though is we would need 2 reset buttons, one for player 1, one for player 2. If we wanted a global reset button, like do I have too many T's? I do. Reset. And actually, let's look at Pico CSS. Is there a way to do a red button? Buttons? Can I do a red button? I guess I could just change the background color. I'll do it like this, contrast outline. Oh, I think because I added the classless Pico CSS, it doesn't have that. Let's not do that. Let's just this. Cool. And then I want to click this button to reset the scores. So let's do it. I think in this case, this would be like where a situation where I would want to almost like have an event bus. So I could, when I click this, it fires off an event, and then these two could be listening for that event. Because otherwise it's going to be a little bit tricky to tell these two components that they need to reset their inner score. Unless I lifted the state up, it's doable. We would basically have to pass a function down to a prop that is a function that sets that function as a variable so that it can be used later on. But I don't know if I want to do that. Wasn't there a thing where you have a ton of components and the bundle size will be larger than a Vue or React bundle? No idea. I have no idea. Yeah, I think, Svelte has animations as well, I believe. Yeah. Does Svelte's page have a dark mode? I would assume. It's been around for a long time. Maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it does. How could I pass variables out to the world? That's you can't. You could accept a function that allows you to call that and make it so that you can call that function when that variable changes, and so you call it with the latest value. But to get things out requires more state management. So usually you lift the state up. So in this case, the app would have the state and then it would pass it down to the components. Yeah. Does it have things like easy state management? I mean, this is our state management right now, is you literally just define a variable and then modify it. So that's the thing. Yeah. Is this production grade? Yeah, there are a lot of apps built with Svelte. A lot of stuff on the New York Times website is built with Svelte because the guy that made Svelte worked at the New York Times. Yeah. Explain DOM like a mime. So DOM is Document Object Model. And essentially, the code we're writing interacts with the document object model to add elements to the page and then also modify elements that are on the page. So each one of these things is an element. So this is an H2, this is an H3, this is a button. And when the score changes, this H3 needs to be modified. This DOM element, this H3 DOM element needs to be modified. Its text content needs to be changed when this button is pressed. And so behind the scenes, Svelte has generated code that does that. So on button press, modify the DOM, the document object model, modify that element to have that latest value. If you ever open up the dev tools, this thing you see in the inspector is a visual representation of the DOM. It looks like HTML, but you'll notice that as I hover over each element, it's highlighting them on the page. And it's able to do that because this is the DOM. This is a visual representation of the DOM. Yeah. Cool. One-way data flow for sure. Yeah, like I believe you could pass a prop down and modify that prop within the component itself, which is one way to do it. Does it have something like Redux? There's a thing. I believe they have it's called a store. I've never used it. Yeah, Svelte Store. You can create a readable and writable store. So you create a writable value. You can then set it from anywhere in your app, and then anywhere that's subscribed to it will get that latest value. I'm curious if we can just define an object, import it into multiple components, and then just modify it like that. But yeah. You'd use bind this to the player component to reference to it and export a function to reset from the component. So could I do something like this? I have two variables, player 1 component, player 2 component. And then I say bind this to player 1 component. Player 2 component, and then when the reset button is clicked, in here, do I have actual access to these components to modify their internal variables? Yeah. All right, I'm gonna skip all your chats because I don't have time. So let's see. If I click reset, yeah, look at that. So we have $set. I don't know if Svelte has DevTools. But what does it do? I don't know if those are if this is the official DevTools, because it's from Red Hatter. Yeah, so they're not official, but you could install. I'm not going to install them. I don't really need them right now. Yeah, but so Pablo is saying we need to export a function from our player. So if we export a reset that just sets the player score to 0, can we just call reset? That's really easy. Huh. Look at that. Yeah, so I mean, if in the React or even in the Vue world, typically what we would do is lift the state up. So all the state would go to the top, so that way we can reset it to 0, because here in the app we would have access to it. But in this case, we're just reaching into that component and calling its function, which is fine. I would say in the real world, you probably don't want to do this, only because this can get really messy, right? If your components are exporting a bunch of functions and then you're calling all of those functions from the parent, it could get messy. So I'll just say this could get messy. Probably need to lift state up. Okay, I'm done with the player app. It's a super simple app. I think the main concepts we demonstrated here were just this idea of defining variables, modifying those variables within functions, and then mapping functions to DOM event listeners. And then the other thing is actually rendering variables within our HTML using the syntax here. Yeah. Cool. First try every time. Yeah. So I appreciate all the questions today, but I just can't get anything done if I answer all of them. So come back next week. Next week we'll do a Q&A stream. But I will answer this one and then try to avoid off-topic questions. I was wondering if you find it difficult to understand other people's code. Oftentimes I find myself reading someone's code. While I do understand individual pieces, it is very difficult for me to see the big picture. It just comes with practice. Like, I've been reading other people's code for over 10 years. And so, yeah, I am pretty good at it. I think that's one thing that, like, absolutely isn't taught much or practiced much, like, in university or even in like code schools, is how to read other people's code. So you really just have to practice. I would say, like, find an open source project written in a language that you know and just start reading through it, and make that a daily task, is just reading through some open source code and potentially, like, typing out what the code is doing so you can say that. But I don't find it difficult, mainly because I've been doing it for a very long time. And I think that's how I got good at it, is doing it for a very long time. Yeah. How does mapping a function to the DOM compare to Vue? What do you mean? So basically how we're doing this Someone mentioned this is like a ref. It's a ref to the element. And I'm guessing for whatever, yeah, and then the element itself has all of its props and everything on it. I don't know. Yeah. What's up, Aztec Consulting? Welcome in. When is improv or code katas? We haven't done code katas in a very long time. But I do want to do a Q&A next week because there are a ton of questions in chat. I just can't answer them today. Increase player score. Yeah, we showed that these could be inline. There's like arrow functions here. I like having them defined separately though. Well, .reset is a function we define. So reset the score, please. We define this. This isn't any Svelte magic. We're calling that function that we defined inside. I bet you can hear the squeaking sound of my desk now. I just don't know how to find it. I have a feeling it's on this side. I'm just going to spray WD-40 all over it until it stops. I think I found it. I think I found it. Yeah. Make it rain. I can hear the squeak. Just pretend it's a little helper mouse. Yeah. Okay. I fixed it. It was just one loose screw. Okay, so I think we're done. We spent way longer on this than I wanted to, but that's fine. That's fine. There's a lot of people here, a lot of questions. It's all good. But quick review of what we just built. So we generated our Svelte app. We have our main app component. And then within that app component, we're pulling in this player score component. And then we have two instances of that player score component. Player score is fairly simple. It just has a score and then two functions to either increase or decrease the score. And then we can call those functions from our button clicks. That's about it. It's fairly simple. Let's move on to the to-do app because we're going to show a lot more Svelte concepts. So like iterating, we haven't showed that yet. So like how do you iterate over a list? What else? Like CSS class bindings. We'll show how to do that. Yeah, and also like binding to inputs, which we haven't shown here. So we're gonna demonstrate a lot more in this next app. Yeah. Well, I don't think it was that the screw is loose. It's that the tabletop has a little bit of space between it and the table legs, and then this stopped it from squeaking. Would I describe my personality as goofy? I'm awkward. Like if you meet me in person, I'm pretty awkward. I don't know. Like I hesitate because like I feel like goofy people are almost like they're kind of goofy on purpose because they're trying to be funny. I don't know if I am. You'd have to ask my partner. Oh, Fonta has a good point. I think actually I do want to try this before we move on. If I do bind child variable name, parent variable name, you can access the variable in both the parent and the child. So in the case of player score, like if I did yeah, I don't know if I would want to do this though, but I think this would work, right? So you'd say player score equals player 1 score. And then like that. It didn't break. And then now, instead of calling reset, we just set this variable. Yeah. I think I prefer this. I don't like reaching in to call a function. Let's do this. Yeah. And then we don't need this reset function anymore because we're just doing it from the parent, because the parent has access to the variables. Okay, I'm really done this time. Ryan says, I vote not goofy. It's the happy positivity that comes across as goofy. Goofy is like happy positive, but in a dumb way. Well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Yeah. No longer need the component variables now. You are right. Yes. That simplifies it, right? Yeah, I like this. I like this better. This makes more sense at a glance, right? Because we basically define the values here, and then because we've bound them, those values are modifiable within the child component. So like even in Vue, you typically wouldn't do this, where the child is actually modifying the prop that got passed down. But in this case, we can, because we're specifically binding it to be modifiable in the child. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. American 2050 is saying import reset the score. Yeah, we're over that. I think we don't even want the reset function anymore. Oh, true, Josh. Yeah. So over here, because we set it as 0, that gives it a default value if it was not passed down. So like, for instance, if I take this off, and then over here, the default value is 10, player 1 score is going to start off as 10, but player 2 starts off as 0 because it had the prop passed down to it that set it to 0. Okay, I really am done with this one now. Let me just close it so I can stop talking about it. And we'll move on. So we've got the whole app. It's ready to go. Yay, Svelte. Yeah, what's up, She.Moe? Thanks for being here. Isn't it better to make a player component and you can generate an amount of player score components? That's what we did. Yeah, that's what we did. We have our player score, and then we had 2 instances of it. But the main issue was wanting to reset the score from the parent. That was the tricky part of why we had to do the binding thing. Okay, can I get a 1 in chat if you enjoyed that Svelte content? We're now going to move on to a to-do app, which is going to be a bit more complicated, but should be fun. Should be fun. Nice. Nice. And I'll go ahead and push this code up. Cool. Cool. So if you check out that Git repo, the code that I just wrote is there. You can take a look at it. We're going to write the to-do app. We'll push it to that same spot. Yeah. All right. I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then when I come back, we're going to build a to-do app. But like I mentioned, we're going to show some more concepts here, because we're going to show binding to form inputs, probably CSS class bindings or style bindings. And we'll have quite a few more components in this app. Cool. So quick 5-minute break, and then I'll be back. Stay awesome. Here? No, here. Hello. I'm back. I just needed to fix something really quick in my chat app. Hi, what's up? So this app you see running chat is a thing I built at this point a while back. But if you remember from last stream, focus mode is broken. Yeah, this is what I need to fix. Cool. That was it. We should be able to do focus mode now. What's an easy solution if I want to lock my personal website behind a password? I mean, it depends on, like, are you really trying to hide stuff? If that's the case, then you could do something like HTTP authentication and set that up on the server side. But if you just want to hide it with JavaScript, then you could just write the code to do that. So if you have routing, you could have one page that displays the password box and it doesn't allow you to go to any of the other pages unless you've typed the password in. But that could easily be defeated by just using the dev tools. Depends on what you're trying to hide, I guess. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to continue to build some Svelte apps. Next, we're going to build a Svelte to-do app, and Mark Boots has redeemed a focus mode. So let's do it, and let's test to see if the thing that I did fixed it. Yes. Okay. All right. We're going to focus for a little bit now. We're going to build a to-do app. So let's go ahead and generate another app. In this case, we're going to call it to-do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone else redeemed a focus mode earlier, so that's why I did 16 minutes. Also, I'm getting way too distracted by chat. I'm already an hour and 48 minutes in, and we've only did the first one, so that's why. All right, so we've generated the app. I'm going to install dependencies. And then we'll open up VS Code in this specific directory. We need to make a couple of changes. So I'm going to change the port that it starts up on. And then we're going to go ahead and add a Pico Css. So I just need to copy that from the other app that I generated. This here. So this just gives us those default styles. This. Cool. And then at this point, we just have our main entry point that loads in the app component. Great. And then we have our app component. We'll just get rid of all the default styles. And we'll do this. All right. Start it up. There we go. So we have the basic hello world. And now let's build a to-do app. So if we look at our to-do list, we've generated the app, we added the CSS. Now let's create a form for adding the to-do. From the get-go, I'm just gonna go ahead and start creating components. So usually I like build everything at the top level and then like extract it into components, but we're beyond that. We're just gonna dive right in. So let's call this the to-do form. It'll have a script. It's going to be an actual form. We will have a label that says new to do, and then this will have an input like this, and then we'll give it a placeholder. Enter a to do ... Great. And then so this is our to do form. We're going to import it in here. and then we'll place an instance of it right here. Okay, see what we get. It's beautiful. So I want to be able to say learn Svelte. Click enter, make sure the page doesn't refresh, and then add it to some sort of list. Cool. So we've got the form to add it. Now, when the form is submitted, we need to add it to a list of to-do items. So let's get that going. If you remember earlier, we could do on, and then we could specify the DOM event that we care about. So I'll do that. And let's take a quick stretch. Quick stretch. So that's great. Here I'll say something like form submitted. Actually, yeah, it should be fine. Okay. So we'll have a function, form submitted. We'll log here, form was submitted. And that's what I was going to look for. So we can prevent the default action. So technically, we get access to the event here. So just like in regular DOM code or even in React, and when I say regular DOM code, I mean like vanilla JavaScript, we could do this, prevent default. We could, but we don't have to. If right here, we just do prevent. Is it prevent or prevent default? We'll try both. We'll try both. If we do this, it should prevent the default action by default. So, wow. No, that didn't work. So default. Wow. Yeah, look at that. And then it was logged to the console just like this. So that's great. The function is getting called when the form is submitted. We also could just add a button here. Add to do, and then that should be a submit button by default. So yeah, when we click it, the form gets submitted. Wonderful. Now at this point, we want to pass the data up. So we need a prop. Export let add to do. So and actually, but before we even do that, let's get the state of this input as a variable in this script here. So I could say new to do starts off as the empty string like this, and then we want to bind it to the input. So I can just do bind. Is it this? Bind value. I think that's what it is. And if I've done that right, we can demonstrate this here. So whatever I type in the input box should be displayed below it. Yeah, so I've done that right. But what that means is now, as I type in this input box, behind the scenes, it's keeping track of it in that state variable. And then when the form is submitted, I can do something with this. And in this case, I want to call a function like add to do, pass in the value of the input box, and then reset the input box back to the empty string, right? Okay, but what is add to do? We need to pass it down from the parent, because the parent component is going to keep track of the entire array of to-dos. So we'll say export let add to do, and then over here, we'll have a function add to do that takes in the to do, and then it will need a variable for all of the to dos. So that starts off as an array, and then when we add the to do, we're just going to push it in. So we'll say the title is the to do, and it is not done because we just created it. And then now we need to pass this function down to the form. So we'll say add to do equals add to do. And now that we're passing the function down, when this form is submitted, it's going to call that function, which passes the data back up and then puts it into this array. And for now, we'll just log out the to-dos array to make sure that it happens. So our first to-do is learn Svelte. add it. There we go. So we have an array with an object in it. Awesome. And if we try to add something else like learn SvelteKit, kit. Now we have two things in the array. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, and I think so that's one thing I'm going to run into is, and we'll test this out, but what I'm seeing in the chat is what I actually need to do is I need to push it in and then like reset the variable, because otherwise Svelte isn't listening for things like push. And so you have to overwrite it. I mean, or yeah, we could spread it, but I don't want to do that because there's no point in creating a copy of the array because you don't actually need to do that. Will this do it? I think that might do it. Regardless, we now need to iterate. So I have this array of objects. I want to show them all on the page, and so I need an each block. Now, this is one of the things I don't like about Svelte is the fact is their syntax for like each blocks, and even their syntax for conditional rendering, which we haven't shown yet, like if blocks. I don't like it. It could have been better, but it's fine. Let's get into it. So for each to-dos as title and done. So this is basically going to iterate over the to-dos array and then give us an li element for each to-do in that array. In this case, we just want to display the title. See if it works. It works. Wow. It works. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So the one weird thing is the fact that we had to do this right here. Let's comment this out and see what happens if I don't have that line. Wow. Yeah. So it doesn't refresh the page. And so this is weird, right? The fact that you're just reassigning the variable to itself, but basically behind the scenes, whenever a variable is reassigned, Svelte knows that it needs to like recalculate or re-render what is on the page in that location. So by reassigning it to itself, it can know that it changed and then update it on the page. And I prefer this, even though the syntax is weird. It feels hacky and it's weird. I prefer this to doing something like spreading to-dos and then putting a new object inside like this. Like this is how you would do it like in React. But I don't like this because you're using more memory, right? You're creating a copy of the array. I don't see a point in doing that. Yeah. And that's the other thing, like American 2050 is saying, is like really behind the scenes, they could just listen for when push happens on an array, which is what Vue.js does. That's why in Vue.js, you don't have to do something like this. You can just push and then the UI updates. Yeah. How did I declare the add to do prop in the child? You just export it. So I exported a variable. Now, I'm not using TypeScript or anything like that, so I haven't defined like this should be a function, and it really is just, it's just a variable, a placeholder. And then here, I am actually passing down a function. Now, of course, if I left this off, we'd get an error because then in here, it would attempt to call undefined. There's some other checking that you would want to do in the real world, but yeah. This is great. Let's look back at our list. So we're adding it to the list when the form is submitted. Beautiful. Show to-dos in a list on the page. We're doing that. And we basically did that with the each syntax. So like in React, you would use array.map. In Vue, you would use v4. In Angular, you would do ng4. Here we have this each syntax, which is weird. I always have to look it up. I mean, obviously, if I use Svelte every day, I probably would get the hang of it, but you have the pound each, and then it ends with /each. That's wrapped in curly braces. This, I believe, is destructuring, and we do get access to the index if we want it. But I believe we also could just do this, and then I could do like to-do.title. So that works. Cool. Let's do this. So click a to-do to mark it as done. So whenever I click on a to-do, I want that to-do dot done to flip. So mark it as done or unmark it as done. That should change it behind the scenes. So if it was true, it becomes false. If it was false, it becomes true. But I want to do some custom styling here. So like I want a CSS class called done that does some text decoration, like line through. So when the to-do is done, apply this CSS class to it. How do we do that? I don't know. Let's look back at the docs. Let's see if we have anything for the class directive. Yeah, so you can do class : the name of the class you want to apply. So in this case, I want to apply the done class if to-do.done is true. So that's how I do that. So whenever to-do.done is true, this CSS class is going to get applied to it, and it's going to get a line through it. So learn Svelte, we'll add it, click it. See? Cool. We could also do stuff like this, like the to-do has a specific class with like a cursor pointer. And then we can just put the to-do class on the list item. No, not like that. Not like that. Like that. Like regular HTML. Hello. Cool. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing we could do as well. Let's actually, we're going to add that. So American 2050 is like, we need a check mark and a not and an X. Let's do some conditional rendering. So if the to-do is done, show a checkbox next to it as well. And for that, we can use an if block like this. So within the to-do, right at the beginning, if to-do.done is true, then we'll just show, not spam, a span with the check emoji, like that. And so if it's done, it now gets that checkbox. Spam. What's up, Alka? Thanks for being here. Yeah, and Finn is asking, how do I bind the new to-do variable to the input for the title? I'll show you that. So that's in the form, and it's just this. So bind : value, and then the variable that we want to bind it to. Also, look how far I can point. Oh, not that far. I reached my limit. I can point a lot farther than usual. So bind : value. So we're binding the value attribute of the input element to be this variable, which is just a string. Yeah. Is there a shortcut for bind like in Vue? I'll look it up. I don't know if there is. Yeah. But let's look it up. So if we look up bindings, text inputs. Yeah, I don't think there's a shorthand. It would be nice if there was. I don't know, anybody that uses Svelte on a regular basis, is there a shorthand for binding? Because like in Vue, you can just do : they get rid of the whatever name is in front of it. In Vue, you just do : So what's the shorthand in Svelte? I'm curious though, if we look in their docs, do they require a key? Bind variable name? But I want to bind it to value. Yeah, so I'm seeing in this case, they are not putting a key on the each here. So I don't think we need a key. If the variable name is the same name as the attribute, you can use... Okay, So if I can't rename variables anymore. But if I change this to value, what you're telling me is, so first of all, let's just make sure it still works. Yeah, it still works, but what you're saying is I can just do this now, like that. No, that didn't work. And then it would just be bind value, like that. Huh. Well, I still don't like it. Because first of all, like if you have multiple elements on the page that you need to bind to, I mean, it's a nice shorthand if the property name you're binding to matches the thing you're trying to bind to. But in this case, it doesn't. If I had multiple inputs on the page, it wouldn't. So well. Yeah. Yeah, sub sounds are turned off unless it's like a really big sub event, but thank you all for the supports. Chief Mustardo with the 16 months, Numero Quattro with the host, much appreciated. Devin with the 13 months, Pablo with 110 bits. I'm giving you 110 bit so you can store a whole lot of data. Thanks, Pablo. And Akash, thank you for the sub as well. Okay, where are we at? What are we doing? Let's look at our to-do list. So we can mark it as done. Now we want to be able to delete, well, that's not done, but we want to be able to delete a to-do. So actually like remove it from the list or from the array. So what if we have a button? Actually not even a button. Do we have a trash can? Yeah, this. If we click that, we want to delete it. I am going to give this a class of delete. And then when you hover over the delete emoji, can we zoom it? Scale? 1.2? So, learn Svelte. That's... We probably just want a separate button. Honestly, we just want a separate button. Oh, is there a hype train right now? Nice. Nice. But I do want to put this in a span, like this. And Chief Mustardo, thank you for the 5 gifted. Much appreciated. And we're going to move that click from the entire list item to just the title itself. Cool. So now, if I click the title, it does that. But if I click the delete button, it doesn't, which is fine by me. I do want it to get bigger, though. Font size? Cool. But I don't like that it moves the whole line. Which is why I wanted to do a transform. Can you not do a transform on a span, on like an inline element? Is that not something you can do? Should be possible. It's not though. Am I doing this hover thing right? Is this right? Is this how you CSS zoom it? How to CSS. Okay. Oh, you're probably right. Is it 2 colons? How does CSS work? Oh no, I thought 2 colons was for like pseudo selectors. Inline elements are bad. Okay, so inline block should be fine. Yeah, that's what it was, the inline block. Cool. Cool. That's why I used Tailwind. Well, if you use Tailwind, you still have to know CSS. Okay, regardless, whenever we click this, we want to call a delete function. So we'll do something like when it's clicked, remove to do. I mean, in this case, this is why it would be nice to have the index, because then we can just splice that index from the array. And so now we have a remove to do function that takes in the index and then just says to-dos dot splice index 1 and then set it equal to itself. So now it's gone. We could use filter. Filter creates a new array though, so that's more memory. Learn JavaScript. Walk the dog. Do the dishes. Cool. So we have quite a few features. Now we can mark them as done, which is great, and then we can also delete them. Yeah. Just get more memory. I'm not making the to-do a separate component to keep it simple. I just started coding, but we probably should. I mean, basically, yeah, this could be the to-do item component for sure. I'm going to leave it at that, though. Yeah, now we're going to work on the local storage stuffs because right now, if I refresh the page, all the to-dos disappear. So now we're going to watch for changes on the to-dos array and then save it to local storage. So let's do that here. I mean, technically, the only time the to-dos change is whenever we add one and remove one. So I could just write to local storage right here, but I do want to show you how you can watch a variable in Svelte. And it's something like this. Like it says, hey, watch this. And then whenever that changes, run a function. I don't know what this is called, though. Does anyone know what this is called? Reactive Declarations. Yeah, mark a statement as reactive. There we go. Something like this. This will update document.title whenever the title prop changes. Okay, so that's not, I mean, really all we want is local storage.setItem to-dos to be json.stringify to-dos. And so now, this statement right here, the state variable that it references is to-dos. And so when to-dos change, it will write it to local storage. Should, anyways. Let's test it. So if we take a look here, we take a look in local storage. it's already there as an empty array, so that's great. And if I add something, it updates it. If I mark something as done, it updates it. That's great. Right? Wow, it's magic. It's magic. Yeah, so Svelte has basically reused the label statement, because this is technically valid JavaScript. It's like a labeled statement, but behind the scenes, it's doing a very different thing. All of this says is whatever variables are referenced on this line, repurpose. Yeah, it's repurposed it. Whenever they change, run this line of code. Yeah. So that's great. So now it's saving them to local storage. And then when the page loads, so let's add a few more. Cool. So now we have these. Right now, if I reload the page, they disappear, right? But what we want is when the page loads, we need to set an initial value for to-dos. So we could say if local storage dot get item to-dos is a thing, then we need to parse it into an array. So we'll do json.parse with that. Otherwise, set it to an empty array. And so now, when I load the page, it's going to load in that data from local storage. Did I call it the right thing? Why is it gone? It completely wiped it out, right? Right? Oh, that's IndexedDB. Here we go. Oh, because it got reset. Whenever I refresh the page, it overwrote it with nothing. But let's fix that. Okay, so learn Svelte, learn React, learn Vue, learn Angular, walk the dog. Okay, so now we have multiple things. If I close this tab and I reopen it, they're back. And it also keeps all of the internal state as well. So like if I mark these as done, close the tab, reopen it, it all was stored in local storage. So we get that. It's great. It's beautiful. Yeah. So we're watching them for changes and then we're loading them on page load. Cool. All right, my friends, I've been live for 2 hours. I thought we would have been on the Reddit client by now. And we're not. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna speed run it. The main thing I want is just to list all. I'm not even gonna even use SvelteKit. We'll save that for another time. We'll just write an app that makes a request to Reddit, to r/JavaScript, and then shows all the posts on the page. Because my back is hurting. I gotta go. Got work to do. Yeah. Refreshing the page does not clear local storage. No, the only way to clear local storage is to actually open up the DevTools and delete this element. This is basically here forever. Until, yeah, I mean, it's kind of there forever until like if you reset your browser settings. Yeah. No Sveltkit today. I know I said I was going to. I know I said. But I guess I'm not used to standing up for this long. And I am standing up today. So, yeah. Yeah. All right, we'll use SvelteKit. At least to generate it, we'll use SvelteKit. This. And for now, let me go ahead and push this code up. Cool. I will give just a quick what do you call it? Quick rundown of everything we built. So ultimately we have a form. That form has an input. We bind the value of that input using this syntax here, so it gets bound to a variable in our component. We can add an event listener for form submission. We can automatically prevent the default action. And we can pull in props. So in this case, we're calling the prop add to do with the value from the form. Add to do is defined in the parent. it just modifies its own state variable, which is just an array. So by default, it's an empty array, but otherwise we're pulling it in from local storage. There's this weird syntax here. Anytime we modify an array with an array method, like push, pop, splice, anything like that, we have to let Svelte know that it changed, which is why we're reassigning it to itself, which is a little hacky, but that's how you do it. We've got this nice reactive declaration here. And this is the first time we saw each block. So this is how you iterate over a list. This is how you do conditional rendering. We also did class bindings. So we're binding the done class to do.done. Yeah, cool. Yep, and thanks for that link, Josh. All the code I've written so far today is here. Did I not push it up yet? I gotta push it up. Here, there we go. So you can get to that to-do app. We're gonna do a Sveltkit now. So far we've only generated apps using like the basic Svelte template. Now we're gonna use Sveltkit, which is like a server-side rendered thing, very similar to like Next.js, but it's for Svelte. It has routing built in. I've never used it before, not even once. So here we go, and we're going to build a Reddit client. So just a basic app that pulls in Reddit posts and lists them all out. Yeah. Wouldn't the label syntax work with the todos.push? So the way to think about the label syntax is run the code on the right-hand side when any of its dependencies change. That's what that's saying. Whereas if I were to use a labeled statement right here, it doesn't really make sense. I don't know. Let's see what this is even telling me. Has no effect outside of the top level. Oh, and you can't even have a labeled statement inside of a function. So yeah, labeled statements aren't really used for that. It's more so run the code on the right-hand side when its dependencies change. Yeah. Very similar to use effect, yeah. Or like a computed property in Vue. What if I declared to-dos? Well, to-dos is already reactive. Like it is technically a reactive variable in that if I change it, the UI is going to update. It just doesn't know that it changed when array methods are called. That's the main issue. I don't know if they have anything specific on that in their docs. Because Svelte's reactivity is based on assignments, using array methods like push and splice won't automatically trigger updates. A subsequent assignment is required to trigger the update. Yeah, it's basically what we're doing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Sveltekit. We're going to do this with Reddit client. Okay. Which template do I want? Oh yeah, and I think we have at this point at least 3 focus modes. So we're gonna focus for 24 minutes and we're gonna build this entire app. Yeah, we're gonna build this entire app in the next 24 minutes without really paying too much attention to chat. Okay, what template do we want? I don't think we want the demo app. Let's just do a project. No TypeScript. No ESLint, no prettier, just basic stuff. So go into Reddit client, install dependencies, npm run dev, open it up. Look at that, we've got a Sveltekit app. The main difference between Sveltekit and what we were just working on is Sveltekit is basically an express app. So this is a backend application. If we were to deploy it, we would need a server running node.js, whereas the other apps we were building were completely front-end apps. So we could have statically built them and then just put them on a static file host and they would work just fine. It is technically possible to pre-render Sveltekit, but if you look at their docs, they basically just say, don't do that. And yeah, let me change the port on this. So let's open it up. let's see what it's using to serve. So when I run dev, it's doing SvelteKit dev. In my Svelte config, I wonder if there is a way to change the port that it's running on. Cool. And so I'll have to look at the docs because this is my first time using any of this. Also, what is this? Svelte for VS Code? Do I not have this? I should have installed that when we started. Okay. But one of the cool things is you can put Svelte files in this routes folder, and those actually automatically generate pages for you. Like that, you get a route for that specific page, just like you would like in Next.js or in Nuxt. So that's cool. We've got some static files. Let's try -- port. Yeah. Who's to say? Yeah, that worked. So now it's running on port 4389. Awesome. At this point, I do want to add the Pico Css thing that we've been using. I'm guessing we put it in this file. So this kind of looks like our layout file. So any page that gets rendered is going to render the body of that page here, but the head would be reused like on all of the various pages that we have. So let me just link that same Pico CSS thing. Cool. And then let's just test it out. So if we add a new route, banana.svelte. Whoa. My editor's being way too helpful. Can I not add emojis? What's wrong with my keyboard? We'll get there. Give me a second. It's broken. I don't want that. Did I just forget why? Maybe, I don't know. I want a banana emoji, and I can't. I just absolutely can't. Does it work over here? It does. So VS Code for me is a little bit messed up right now. I don't think this. Well, yeah, I mean, it technically was working before we added the Svelte add-on. Oh well, doesn't matter. All I wanted to demonstrate is we now have this banana.svelte file, which should mean we have a banana route. So in the browser, if I go to /banana, banana, it renders that page. So that's cool. Okay. Let's do this. So I want a specific route that's like r/ JavaScript or whatever you put in. It's going to go to that specific subreddit. Can I put a / in a file name? I don't think I can. Oh, that makes sense. But let's look at their docs because I don't know how you do like parameterization. Let's see. Pages. I think I did it right with the square brackets. Dynamic parameters are encoded using brackets. For example, a blog post might be defined by blog/slug.svelte. Soon, we'll see how to access that parameter in a load function or the page store. A function that defines a page or a layout can export a load function that runs before the component is created. This function runs both during server-side rendering and in the client and allows you to get data for the page. That makes sense. So I can export an async load function. This is kind of what I want to do, because that's going to give me access to the name of the subreddit that we're trying to load. Page store would be better for this. I'll take a look. So now if I go to r/javascript, URL is not defined. That makes sense. Let me get rid of all this. The load function must return a value. Okay. So JavaScript is there. Is that running? Yeah, it's running on the server side too, so that's interesting. That's very interesting. Cool. I am going to look into page store because that's what Decallers is saying is potentially better for this. Stores are contextual. They are added to the context of your root component. It looks too complicated. I'm going to stick to this, to the load function, because the load function just needs to make the API request out to Reddit. So we do something like this. The URL we want to request is www.reddit.com. Or I think we do api.reddit.com/r/that.json. That actually should do it. And then we're just going to have a prop called data. And it's going to look like that. Great. Cool. If we look at the network tab, I believe it is making that request on the server side. So if we look for any XHR requests, yeah, so the client side is not making the request for Reddit. I believe the backend is. At this point, we actually want to use these props. So what if I were to just do this? Do we get access to data or props.data? Like that? Undefined. Let's keep reading. So our load function returns an object with props on it. And then how do we use it? Sveltkit's load receives an implementation of fetch, which has the following special properties. It has access to cookies on the server. It can make requests against the app's own endpoints. Makes a copy of the response when you use it. Load only applies to page and layout components. Export let variable in the... Oh, this needs to be a separate script tag? Is that what you're saying? Whoa! That's crazy. That's too easy. Cool. Yeah, so we got all of our Reddit data. What's interesting is that request to Reddit did happen on the server side. It didn't happen on the client, which is fine. It's totally fine. It's just interesting to note. So we have the data. Now we can just iterate over it. I really want to do res.json.data. Like that. Yeah, so then we get this. And then really, I want to do children, and we can just call this posts because it's all of the Reddit posts that we want to show. Like that. So it's an array. And now at this point, we can just iterate over it. So let's see if I can remember the each syntax. Each posts. Is it in post? And then we need our /each. And then each one of these is going to be a div. I can't remember. We're going to have to go back to how to do it. Docs. Each expression as. Okay. And then we'll have a little h3 with post.title. Undefined. Nice. I think it's like post.children or post.data.title. Yeah. Look at that. We've done it. So that's iterating over the posts. Let's do like an h4. Let's give this a class of post, and then we'll add some styles. So the post has, let's say, like outline 2 pixels solid white, and some padding of 2 rem, and margin of 1 rem. Nice. Nice. And then we could make this title clickable. So we'll make it an anchor tag. And then we need to bind the href to be, or actually, do I bind it, or can I just do href equals post.data.permalink URL? I think that's the property name. And we'd have to put Reddit in front of it. www.reddit.com/that. No. I just need to load the API response so I can see all the properties. So data dot permalink. That's all I need. It's permalink. Cool. So yeah, and then we'll also make that open in a new tab. We need the no referrers, no thingies, but now I can click it. It'll open up Reddit in a new tab. Seems fine. Seems totally fine. Let me just do that. Anchor tag no target. How do I fix it? Rel, no opener, no refer. That's what I mean. Yeah, thank you, Nikki Poo. Great. This is good enough. I think I'm done here. I technically still have a little bit more time, but we demonstrated a couple of things in SvelteKit that we don't really have, or that we couldn't demonstrate in Svelte because it didn't have it. So we get routing out of the box. So very similar to like if you ever use Next.js or Nuxt, you just define your components within this folder, and then it automatically generates routes for you. We did learn about this async load function. So this is going to get called before the page loads and potentially run this code on the server side or potentially on the client side. So what's nice about what we've just written is I can go to r/Vue.js and it still works because it just uses that param to make a request out to Reddit to get the list of posts for that specific subreddit that's from the URL. Or if we went to r/aw, is it 3 W's or 4 W's? r/aw has 3,000 members with 4 W's. With 3 W's, 200,000 members. They should have like millions of members. 2 W's. 2 W's is what we want. Okay, but what I want to show really quick is that let's just render out the images as well. That'll be one of the last things we do. So if we look at a post, it has a thumbnail property. Does it have an image property or media property? It has a preview property, preview images. Secure media? Reddit video? Oh. Because they're GIFs. Yeah. That should be fine. Let's do it. So we'll do a conditional render here, right below the title. If post dot data dot secure media secure-media.reddit video and then the source is going to be Reddit video dot dash URL? No, I don't want that. Scrubber media URL? It's so tiny though. HLS URL? Fallback URL. That's the one. Fallback URL. We'll say muted autoplay loop. Nice. Let's just add some styles though. So the video should just have a width of 100%. Yeah. Oh, look at that llama. That's a furry llama. Cool. Whoa! That's like a parkour goat. Parkour. Nice. Nice. I think these are just images. So let's see. So nice view. I like it. Children at 2. So this is an example of a post that's just an image. I think it has a URL. And then, like if I open that up, yeah, that's the image. But is there any property that tells me it's an image? Is meta at the bottom? Is video? Well, the thing is, it could be a text post. And a text post doesn't have an image. Like, the first post, I believe, is a text post. Post hint. I could check the extension, but that's too much work. I feel like the API should tell me something, right? Post hint. Link. Okay. And then here, where is it? Post hint. Image. Cool. Okay, so if it has secure media, do this. How do you do else? So we'll set that here, data.url. Colon else? So this is the one thing I don't like about Svelte. Are the each's and the ifs syntax, just because it's like nothing I've ever used before. So I always have to look it up. If, else if. The syntax is just the Svelte templating language. Yeah. And then we will set the alt text to be the title of the post. And then images also have 100% width. Okay. This is the last change. It should just work. Here we go. This is our simple little Reddit clone using SvelteKit. We can go to any subreddit. So if we go to r/JavaScript, with 1T, most of the posts on r/JavaScript are just links or like text posts. So we're not going to see much there. But if we go to r/aw, we will see the images embedded. So we have this majestic kitty. Nice view. He loves minimalism. Oh, is he going to break that? No! They stopped him. Cruz the horse enjoys Native American flute music. Look at him. Cool. Yeah, let's go to programming humor. That's where we will end the stream. Is it programmer humor or programming humor? Oh, I didn't have the video controls. You can put controls on there. If you just put the word controls right here, that'll give you like volume control and like a media scrubber. I think it's programmer humor. Right? Yeah, 1.7 million HTML programmers. All right, let me fix it. That moment, error on line 42. I can do this. It told me exactly what line the error is on. You go to line 42 and there's nothing there. That's funny. Here's the thing. If you're running into this issue, it's probably because you're using some sort of build tool and you don't have source maps enabled. Source maps will map the errors back to the original line numbers instead of like the transpiled or compiled line numbers. But yeah. All right, next thing. What's the best thing you found in code? You may think that, so this is a comment. It's a comment in some code. You may think that this function is obsolete and doesn't seem to do anything, and you would be correct. But when we remove this function, for some reason, the whole program crashes and we can't figure out why. So here it will stay. Yeah. Fun with flags. So this is the Norway flag. Anybody from Norway here right now? This is the Norway flag. And then all of these other things are logic gates. She.moe is from Norway. Look at that. They have the Norway flag too. And Kryton. Nice. But this is essentially like logic gates on the flag instead. So this is the exclusive OR logic gate, the exclusive NOR, the AND gate, and a quick rundown of gates if you're not familiar with them. So gates typically have two inputs. Sometimes they have one input, like the NOT gate, but you have two inputs. And the AND gate will output true if both input 1 and input 2 are true. But if either input 1 or input 2 are false, the output is going to be false. So that's an AND gate. A NAND gate is a not AND gate. So if both are true going into it, true will come out of it, but then it'll be flipped, so it'll be false. So if true becomes false, false becomes true. And then this is just a NOT gate. So whatever it goes in gets flipped. So true going in becomes false, or false coming in becomes true. And it's just funny because they all kind of look like the Norway flag. Yeah. I don't know, Pranjal. If you take a look at Teespring, I think Teespring ships to most places. Do we have the merch link? Support. It never seems to work. But if you go to coding.garden/support. Yeah, this has several links. This one will take you to Teespring. Oh, I forgot I have a domain for it. Is it broken? No. merch.coding.garden. There we go. Go there. I don't know. I would try to create an order here and then just see if... Wait. I don't like how Teespring does this. All of my other t-shirts are expired. I need to relist them. I'll go do that after the stream. But just try making an order and see if they'll ship to your country, because they do ship a lot of places. All right, last joke, and then we'll go. 1 in 8 Americans have worked at McDonald's. 1 in 10 Americans think HTML is a sexually transmitted disease. What is this even from? Okay, this is a printed book is the thing. That's funny. All right, one more. Charmander used Bite. It did 8 bits of damage. In case you didn't know, the collective of Charmander is Stringmander. This is funny. This is funny if you've ever used like a lower level programming that has characters or chars, and you like Pokemon. Because like if for example in C, a char is a character and a string is a collection of characters. So Charmander, Stringmander. That's funny. We're gonna end it there. All right, thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm sorry I got a little rushed towards the end here. I am gonna push all this code up to GitHub. Just need to make sure there's nothing in there. Cool. Let me just check some boxes. So we generated an app. We have that. We fetched the posts. We added we made it look a little bit like Reddit. And that's about it. We didn't add the favorites feature, but we did at least get that far. Cool. It's not funny when it needs to be explained, but that's the whole thing. That's why I show the jokes on stream, because there could be beginner people here or non-programmer people here, and I'm here to explain the joke for those people. Yeah, cool. Check out the code here. Did I push it up? Oh well. Oh well. Code's there. In a future stream, we'll build a movie search app with SvelteKit. And we can explore more of the features. Like we barely even scratched the surface of SvelteKit this time. Yeah. And okay, you're welcome. glad to have you here. Yeah. Cool. You have a good weekend too. All right, we're gonna do a raid. I don't know who we're gonna raid, but whoever we do, drop a follow if you like what they're doing. Show them lots of love. All that good stuff. If you're a sub, you can use that raid message. If you're not a sub, you can use this raid message. You also can just come up with your own raid message. Like this. Also, we had some more supports. I think I missed these, but Crash with the 2 months of Prime, Slamar with the sub, Nookie Poo with that gift, Chief Mustardo with the 5, Nookie Poo with 50 bits, Call Me Trompy with the 8 months, Sudoku with the 10 months, Oki with the Prime, It's Me Delano with the 100 bits, Okay Not Now with the 10 bits. Thank you all for the supports. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this.